Thank you, Senator Watt. Senator Hanson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. Well, I've listened to some of the comments here and I've spoken to many people on the streets and the concerns about this. Actually, I've got to ask the question, you talk about the Parliament should make the decision on this. Has anyone really considered how the public feel about this? Is it going to be a social issue? The impact on the Australian people to do with the plebiscite on same-sex marriage. I have no problem with people who want to be with people of the same sex. Everyone has a right to live their life with happiness, how they want to, in their own homes. But what I'm hearing from the people is they actually want the word marriage, which was defined between a man and woman. If you actually want to bring equality, why don't these people then say, if you are a homosexual and you want to marry someone of the same sex, then let's say change it, make it a civil ceremony. Why do you have to take the word marriage, which was defined between a man and woman? The public would come along with you. They would agree with you. What people want and the impact of the same-sex marriage is about a social impact. And I think it has not been discussed on the floor of this Parliament. Tell the people what it will impact on their lives. What is the numbers that we have who want to marry? And I've spoken to a lot of gay couples. They don't want to marry, they're not interested in it. So here we have a minority who are pushing their views on the majority of Australians. You, the Parliament, you don't want it, especially those on the opposition. You don't want to go to a plebiscite because you know possibly the majority of the people out there in our society may vote against it. So you're not game to actually put up and face that. I've heard arguments on the floor of this Parliament. What you're saying is there is going to be intolerance and hate speech. That was not the case in Ireland. Is that a weak excuse that you won't put it out there to actually let the public know and have their opinion? It's not about this Parliament. We are representatives of the people. But when it comes down to a social issue like this, it is up to the people to have their say. Don't deny them their democracy to have their say, because it will impact on our society. I myself personally, and the One Nation policy, is I have called for a referendum. Why? Because Section 51 of the Australian Constitution defines the word marriage. Marriage, as interpreted by the Farmers' Federation, was between a man and a woman. So then, if this Parliament was passed the word marriage to define couples of the same sex, then who's to say further down the track in this Parliament we are going to pass that multiple marriages is not going to be the same case? So let's put it to a referendum for the people to define the word marriage. So put it to people, do we define marriage as people of the same sex or people of the opposite sex as well? Let's put it in our constitution. But apart from that, if that's not the case, then let's send it to a plebiscite for the people to decide. I myself personally, I believe in marriage is between a man and a woman. But if the people of this country in a plebiscite decides to vote that marriage can be between those of the opposite sex, I will abide by their wishes. I will support it in this Parliament, because that's what the people want. We actually then go and this is where my concern is. I will be moving an amendment in this Parliament that I believe the plebiscite should go to the next election. For a cost to the Australian taxpayer of $170 million is a disgrace. It should go at the next election for people to actually vote on this at the next election. We cannot afford it. I'm actually fighting for monies to actually clean up the family law courts. People are suiciding there. I have farmers, I went out to Charleville, farmers there that are actually distraught because they can't farm their lands or have no help from the government whatsoever. Many areas we can use that money in the hospitals, in the schools and other areas without spending $170 million on a plebiscite. For how many people are we actually talking about? If you truly love someone, do you really need to have that certificate that says you're married? That commitment can be made to anyone. It comes from here, your heart, how you feel about that person. You don't need to have it defined before a person to justify it. And besides, I'll tell you now, I've been married twice. It's not all cracked up to be as fantastic as what everyone thinks it might be. So $40 million a day we are actually paying in interest. Can we afford this? No, we can't. And I think we have to be mindful of what this country is in debt and what it is costing us. Then I'll go to your call about marriage equality. Equality means right across the board. Here they have the rights to superannuation and everything else as far as marriage is concerned. And I acknowledge that and I totally agree with it. And I've heard the cases that couples of the same sex make fantastic parents. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But where's the rights of the child? Because under marriage equality, you're actually going to talk about adoption of children. Where is the rights of that child to be brought up in a home that they should have the balance between a male and a female? I'll get criticised for this. I do, because I speak my mind. Add it to the list. But I actually want people to understand what will happen with this is that if you have marriage equality, then you must have adoption of children. That is part of it. The rights of the child, I'm concerned about that. And also, what happens when those children of same-sex couples goes to school and the teacher says, well, Johnny and Susan, I want you to actually draw a picture of your home with your mummy, your daddy and your siblings. But the child says, I don't have a mummy, I don't have a daddy. So are we further down the track going to say, well, no longer can you call that person your mummy, your daddy, your grandma, your granddad, because that offends the children that don't have it? I don't know. Can anyone tell me in this house, what do they call the people of same sex in that household? Are those kids' considerations being taken into, we change it. We change it now. When we actually, at schools, we don't sing Christmas carols because it offends a certain religion. We don't do this because it offends a certain, race. Has this been debated? Tell the people what the future holds for them. Let them make an informed decision. And that's what I'm saying. Put the facts out there. Let the people know, because it is going to have such a social impact on our society that people have a right. Let them have their say. Let them have their vote. We owe the people of Australia this. And I'll stand by their decisions. Are you prepared to do that? Or if they vote no against it, are you still going to keep pushing for this until this parliament gets their own way? Look at the minorities. I'm sick and tired of adhering to the minorities in this country. Let's look at what the majority wants, and that's what it's all about. That may be the case. Is it? You're not listening to the people. You don't listen to
Senator
what the people,
Hanson,
how
would
they
you
feel.
direct your comments to the Chair,
I'm
please?
sorry.
And I just make the
Sorry,
comment that
Deputy Chair.
all senators are entitled to be heard in silence. Thank you.
You're right. What I'm saying is, not only that, Mr. Deputy President, I have spoken to, and I have friends and acquaintances and work colleagues who are homosexual. I have spoken to them, and a lot of these people do not agree with marriage. They don't want it. They don't agree with it. In all honesty, give the people their right to have their vote. But I stand by the plebiscite and the wishes of the majority of Australians, and I will say, put it to the vote at the next election and let the people have their say. Thank you.